turn that on. All right. Looks like we're live.
Excellent.
7 viewers waiting. Hello, gentlemen. Can everybody hear us? I wonder how long the delay is set on this thing.
Yep.
Boomer status. All right, yeah, they can hear us.
Exactly.
Big Bad
Long
RPG.
time no chat.
Yeah, it's been too long. Big Bad RPG says this is the after party for the total victory over on Twitter. Literally can't imagine getting wrecked online as hard as some of those dudes got wrecked online. I hope so. I mean, that guy was such a fucking moron.
Yeah.
We didn't swear in the first 8 seconds, and we're not monetized, so that doesn't matter.
There we go. Thank God.
How is everyone doing tonight? We got Mr. Max in the chat. The Dark of Maya. Hope I found you well. Good.
Excellent, excellent.
I am currently enduring a really strong thunderstorm right now, and my dog is freaking the fuck out under my desk. So I am standing at the standing desk for once instead of sitting at the standing desk. I don't know if you guys heard that, but that was the lightning.
Hopefully it won't last that long. But regardless. Yeah, crazy, not just week, but 2 weeks. Of course, I was out back in the wastelands of the Northeast.
Unfortunately,
last week. Unfortunately, very much so. And every time I go there, I'm proven immediately that I was right to leave.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the Northeast is a godforsaken hellhole.
Yes.
And I am so glad that I left New York. What a just terrible, terrible place it's become.
God. Yeah. But nevertheless.
Ooh, ice rain. Yeah, we had an ice storm here a couple months ago that it was like apocalyptic in our city. Like it was like power was out for, I don't know, like a couple 100,000 people for more than a week. All sorts of shit happened. The neighborhoods looked like a war zone. The trees, just everything had fallen. So
how are they? Have they gotten on that? Have they? Fixed,
yeah, they finally cleaned it
fixed,
up.
But cleaned up.
Yeah, it was. Nick came and visited me like a month after it happened, and the trees were still everywhere. Like they hadn't cleaned up anything. Now it looks much more back to normal. Fled Massachusetts for Florida? Yeah, good call.
Good call indeed. Florida was definitely a place I was intrigued by. You know, it's one of the mass exodus locations, that in Texas.
Yeah, I've got a lot of friends out in Florida, but I would not want to live there. It's too humid.
Yeah.
The people are pretty crazy out there too, which I know there's a certain appeal. But I like things to be normal now. I lived in Brooklyn for too long. I'm glad to have some normalcy.
Yeah, if normal is anywhere. I saw Louis Rossman put out a video of a guy chasing someone else with a knife in Austin somewhere. I don't know where. I'm like, damn.
Yeah, there's apparently a serial killer in Austin now who's like drowning people in the river or something. So that's pretty fucking wild. We don't have any police here anymore, so I guess it's up to the citizenry to stay armed.
I would take that as far preferable, the alternative.
Yeah. Anyway, yeah. Pretty wild couple of days. I said some things on Twitter, and people got at least one guy got very angry.
Rightly so, to be mocked and
yeah.
I don't know if they have the cognitive capacity to be put in their place. In fact, let me retract that. I know they don't have mental capacity for that. Like talking to an animal.
Yeah, it was crazy too, because like the post that triggered this, like I wasn't going after anybody.
It had nothing to do with what the guy spurred out about.
I know.
At all.
I was literally, I said like people were talking about using XP for gold. or gold for XP, like the old
XP.
way that advancement and leveling and the incentives for play were in the old style in first edition. Can you get out of the cables, please? My dog is literally trying to tie herself up in my horrible mess of cables.
Yeah.
But and so I said, like, this kind of game is kind of intriguing to me because I've never played literally that style.
Yeah, and we've talked offline about that. It's definitely
Yeah.
something we want to discuss and dive into at some point.
Yeah.
I haven't played that milieu of advancement before either.
Yeah. And it's just a completely different style of play. I mean, it's like you're going to be looting corpses left and right because that's how you
Right.
that's how you gain your levels.
Right. Yeah.
But the point people make is that generally it kind of the players instantly have motivation and they're out exploring, and it focuses on exploration and dungeon crawling and all of this. And I made the point that I was like, but this doesn't have any sense of reality or verisimilitude for me because these dungeons don't make any sense as presented by the material and as presented by the people who play these games and talk about them. Is that they're basically just haunted houses.
A nameless dungeon.
Yeah.
A dungeon 9437 tile set.
Yeah.
B3, and
with randomly chosen monsters out of the monster manual that who knows why they're all hanging out down there.
Who knows why they're there?
Maybe it's
survived.
It's a wizard's lair, and he's just hanging out in the boss room, waiting for you to show up. And people got very angry at that. Apparently.
Speak of the devil, we have Gelatinous Rube in here.
Oh, there he is. That's the guy we're talking about.
We can keep the drama going.
So this is great. So this moron who's in the chat now, say hi to him. Continually saying that he like owned me and all this stuff, and then he blocked me on Twitter, and is now showing up here. Also invited me to Discord. I don't get it. Do you want to talk to me or do you not want to talk to me?
Right. And evidently the conversation must go on. I mean, again, the whole issue that was being brought up was that it was verisimilitude.
Yeah.
And there were a couple people. I don't recall if it was this guy or one or two other people who got involved in the chain of tweet replies. But this notion that a dungeon as such is going to have copious amounts of coinage, whatever reason, as being an incentive for adventurers to continue to go back into these things. How many adventurers are there? How many have there been over the years? The only place you're getting coins, you're getting treasure. And treasure, again, I may be wrong about this, but I'm pretty certain I'm not.
Please continue.
The means of character progression from gold, it's from gold. You don't find a sword, you don't find a magic weapon or an artifact, which would make more sense to possibly exist in a dungeon. You can't take that back. You can't reclaim that, something that would make sense possibly to be there in a dungeon, sell it back, and get experience that way. I'm not 100% sure that that's true, but I'm 98% sure that that is. And so it brings us back to the initial dissonance.
Yeah, and my point in the original...
How could there be all of these, unless you're going after something you've said, Matt, going after a dragon's hoard, or this dungeon is a lair or a hideaway of a bunch of highwaymen, or something that makes sense. Why is this here?
Right.
How have these dungeons not been exhausted by previous iterations of adventurers?
This idiot's response was that at least it might have been him, might have been someone else, I don't know, was that you go to the underworld to bargain for power, and so eventually the gold all ends up back there anyway. So there's this sort of like circular flow of adventurers going in, getting it out, using it in the economy, and then eventually evil gets a hold of it and brings it down into the depths again to bargain for power, I guess.
That doesn't... First of all, that's not explicitly or implicitly stated anywhere in any game, to my knowledge, any setting to my knowledge. You're having to do mental loops to justify something that doesn't make sense in the first place.
And again,
you could Rube Goldberg
like
yourself
I said,
into...
This could be fun. I get that.
Sure.
Not the kind of game I'm interested in.
Right.
Like,
primarily, and we've talked about this many times, verisimilitude is the primary...
that's what we're seeking. You know, we want there to be this kind of ring of truth to the game.
Right, and I don't know how the thread devolved into world building.
I don't know
I guess
either.
The notion that you're having any sense of standard or any sense of continuity in terms of a world, that being something that's so antagonistic, we're attacking the milieu of play, of this old school type of play, is absolutely absurd. It's not what we were talking about.
Right.
And completely tangential to the initial point.
Yeah, and something I brought up was that this is, Diablo, we've talked about this offline before, but Diablo, the original, as a video game, is basically this style of game made into a video game. And I love that game. It is super fun. I love killing hordes of demons in the depths of the dungeons and getting the gold. I get that.
Sure.
It's not a role-playing game.
No.
They call it a role-playing game.
Right.
But it's not. It's like an action-adventure roguelike, it has nothing to do with...
power fantasy. It's a beat-em-up
right.
Type deal. It's something that works very well in a video game medium. But you couldn't... I would contend you can't really translate that type of experience to a role-playing game.
Not a good one. Not one that I would be interested in.
Not one, again, it would be one that's a role-playing game in name only. Or only very surface level. Because the whole point, the whole loop, is fighting hordes of abominations.
Yeah.
And for whatever reason, they drop coinage, which is ridiculous in and of itself. It's something you can look past in a video game. I guess you could look past it in anything if you don't care. The whole point we're putting across is we do care.
Yeah.
I don't want to involve myself, immerse myself, or try to immerse myself in a world that, in the very basic, fundamental experience in which I'm interacting with it, makes no sense on a foundational level. No, where are all these coins coming from? Are they all in a... this is a 3,000-year-old dungeon, which for whatever reason has not been found until the player characters show up. Is this in, this is not minted in the stamp of the king or whatever, whatever the nation you're involved with is. So, is that going to be a factor? At least it should be something that's commented on. But again, every gold coin is a universal denomination, whether it was minted,
well, don't forget there's
years ago and yesterday.
There's also coppers and electrum and
coppers
platinum
and silvers
pieces and all of this other bookkeeping you can do. But yeah, the point is that we prefer a world that has some sense of I won't even say realism, but a kind of internal consistency, as defined by whatever genre that you're playing in. And those games, for the most part, and we've seen how people play them, so this isn't just us pulling this out of our ass. Those games have nonsensical worlds that are inconsistent and that does not attract me to the game at all. Which honestly was the point of the original post, was I don't get why people find this entertaining. Because
it's hilarious that the vitriol came out, because we weren't even
because if you're not
attacking anything.
If you're not playing, the Gygaxian the platonic ideal of the Gygaxian game.
Right.
You don't know how to role play. You don't know what you're missing, and you're doing it wrong. And why are you throwing out the rules? You never even read the rule book. Go fuck yourself.
Yeah.
First of all, yes, I have. And second of all, that's a very low experience in role playing, in my opinion. I have a couple of games that I'm really interested in right now. In particular, Lion and Dragon by Pundit. This is a game that has many of the old school mechanics in it. It does not do XP for gold. One of the reasons being that he knew that this was going to break the authenticity of the world. It would not jive with,
Right.
knights and people who are, have senses of honor and chivalry.
Anyone who would actually fit into a setting. This is another
Right.
huge
These are not
problem
people who would loot bodies,
Right. Not only not loot bodies as such, but there's no place in any society that has ever existed, any society that you could imagine that has any degree of realism or verisimilitude. If there's something like, if there's a role, if there's dungeons, or if you're presenting a world where civilization is the exception rather than the rule, and monsters, the wildlands, the evil spirits, undead, whatever, all the antagonistic monsters are threatening the civilized world at every turn, you're going to have a societal place for adventurers, which in D&D, these are tabula rasa people who just spawn in like a video game character.
Yeah.
Have no sense of place.
Leave it.
No sense of purpose.
Hey,
There's, for some reason, towns, cities, temple structures, political structures are tolerating these madmen who are going here, there, whatever. They're not paying taxes. They're not providing any meaningful service. And to your point, they are deflating the economy. If you wanted to present a world where, again, civilization is the exception, you can do that. And that has been done before. There's nothing wrong with that. But still, to my mind, treasure as experience would itself, it would grate against that kind of feel, that kind of thematic purpose that you're trying to put over. You would be a knight or an honored warrior or a crusader in the name of some sort of faith or church or what have you, or even just a guardsman. You're not going out to collect riches for yourself to come back and go to the next town, go to the next place, and complete
go to the next hex.
Dungeon 9. Go to the next place.
Yeah, this is the thing.
Ridiculous.
It's like if you look at like the Greyhawk setting, that they eventually brought in all of their published adventure modules and placed them across the map, which was a map of Wisconsin, by the way. It's fucking stupid. Oh. It's really fucking stupid. Yeah, it looks almost exactly like Wisconsin.
Well.
And so you have all of these incompatible and bizarre, which is fine. Bizarre games are fine. I've actually got one. Let's see if the camera will freak out. I've got a bizarre game right here.
Yeah.
Wretched role-playing game by the Red Room just came in today. Bizarre is cool if it's contained within a genre and has some sort of consistency. And the way that most people are playing this style, there's no consistency to it outside of the rules that they use in the game. The world doesn't have consistency. And for me, that is a problem. I don't like that.
It's a non-starter. It's a non-starter. It's not something that I want to involve myself with. It's not going to be good.
Come here.
How am I going to have my character realistically develop, react to situations where the standard being the world that I'm in, is fundamentally broken
Yeah.
in certain areas, in certain sectors. If you're doing experience as gold, it would make more sense. Have the fundamental presentation of what a character is, just have them be highwaymen.
Yeah.
That's how you get money. That's how you you don't go down fighting these abominable horrors. You waylay people on the road. You waylay merchant caravans. That's what
This is why I also said, like, invent capitalism, like make a like start a business. You can get gold that way. And then people brought up that it's not just gold pieces. It's that there have to be gold pieces that are obtained through adventuring. So you can't once they're spent, if someone gave you more money, that's not experience. They're not just interchangeable.
Right.
So again, this is completely arbitrary.
Yeah.
This is like totally arbitrary.
I mean, and it's like, I get it. I get the thought process. It's just with the amount of time which has elapsed, and with any degree of, again, this isn't like you need a PhD or need to think hard about this.
Yeah.
Think about it for 3 minutes, and this doesn't make any sense, or it makes so much less sense than it would be to shift the perspective over here, or shift the world to be in this place.
Right.
And this sort of sacred cow of the platonic ideal of gaming, or the most fundamental or the most pure, whatever that even means, is absolutely absurd.
And if you want to play the game in this way, I'm not going to stop you. I get that. But again, I was saying, I don't like this. And this is the reason why.
And I would have far more respect for the argument that, okay, I hear what you're saying, but I just want to have fun and have a good time, and I don't really want to think that deeply. This is what the game book has provided to me, and so I'm just going to do it. It provides a fun social hike. I would actually respect that more for as much hate we rightfully give those kinds of surface level gamers. You're at least being honest. Hey, I'm just abdicating my mental capacity to invest myself in this, rather than coming up with these sort of Rube Goldbergian types of mental loops to justify something which self-evidently makes very little sense.
Right. And then Mr. Max also said something a little bit up the line here. He said, loot bodies? No, take the enemy alive and ransom him. Exactly.
That's exactly what I want to do a RuneQuest game at some point. RuneQuest does this very well. It's a Bronze Age mythical setting, and based on your social standing, based on your deeds in your tribe, in your community, in your kingdom, you have a kind of like a ransom value, which is how much your family, your clan, your community is generally willing to pay a raiding party, a rival clan, or what have you, to get you back alive. It's a different type of focus. I appreciate that level of thought that's gone into it. That level of that extra effort of verisimilitude.
It's fucking
because
cool.
That is the case,
and it's interesting.
It's fucking cool, and that's very much in keeping with that genre of play. Most tribal wars that happen, and a lot of ancient wars, maybe not wars, but to some degree, but a lot of the conflict is some degree of tribal conflict or raiding.
Yeah, and it's also
ransoming people back makes sense. That's actually what happened a lot of the time.
Ransoms, and also this is something I really like in games as well, is when you have interesting systems of like kind of courts and culture surrounding crime. And so like Lion and Dragon has rules for clerical courts and like courts for the lay people, and ways, things that will happen if you get convicted, whatever. But in a lot of ancient cultures, you also had things like blood prices. If it's not simply an eye for an eye. I mean, that's eventually what things boiled down to. But you'll have like hierarchically listed sins, essentially. You know, like deliberate murder might be like at the top, torture, like these things. But once you get down to like you punched someone in the face, the price for that is lower. I like it when things are like that are included in a game, because it gives me like more interesting things to do and work with, other than just like let's go kill the beholder, you know. Which, while it's a cool looking monster, I hate the description of that thing. It's so fucking stupid.
This,
as Shauner says, D&D monsters they're fucking Pokemon.
in 98% of the case, that
you guys are Kaz stands.
I don't even know what that means.
No wonder you're story gamers. I don't know what that means either.
Well, this is part of the retarded dialogue about RPGs. The RPG commentariat is so scatterbrained, and where we're not even speaking the same language, because I don't know if I don't recall if we've explicitly used the word story gaming, but what the common understanding of what story gaming is, to my understanding, we're not story gamers.
No,
we are very much against putting together a plot, a novel.
Yeah, pre-planned.
That the players are going through. So the idea that that's what the takeaway is shows either that haven't watched or paid any attention to what we've talked about before, or you yourself have a fundamental misunderstanding of what the basic terminology
this is something that like I've seen a lot in some of the not everywhere, but it seems to be a general sentiment within the OSR circles, is that if you're not playing in like the precise OSR way, which is defined differently by all of them, by the way. This is just like like if you're into any sort of like non-mainstream politics, like every like group that you have is composed of like tiny subgroups that are all at each other's throats, and they're like, you're not a true libertarian, or you're not a true socialist. It's the exact same thing going on here.
Yeah, if you're not in the narrowly defined camp, you're a story gamer, or you're
That's the response is, or if you, because the thing is, I also think like I enjoy having stories in my game. They emerge out of the play and, out of the interactions of the player characters and the NPCs, and they're not pre-planned. But the idea that you can't have story in your game is retarded.
Right. The story is something which is emergent from the play.
Yeah.
And again, you and I have talked about this at length, and I don't know the mountain of kind of calcified tendencies and vocabulary and terminology. It may well be insurmountable, but I don't even like the idea of having the hobby be defined as role-playing games. I don't like the idea of story being used either, because what we're talking about isn't really a story. It's something dramatic, which
it is a story.
It manifests afterwards in the moment.
Yeah, exactly. It manifests in the moment.
It.
When you reflect on it, there is a plot. There's a coherent set of events that happened, but the coherent set of events were not planned. They happened as the result of the actions of the characters and the GM.
Right.
So to me, it's kind of impossible to come out of this without a story.
Right.
And
so and it's also something which isn't defined or contained within, a 3-act structure, rising action, denouement.
Yeah.
Story beats, plot events happening for the sake of, engineering a particular degree of drama in a particular pace.
Yeah.
That's not what happens. I feel like there's a better word out there, but
I do too. I don't know what it is
offhand,
either.
But again, maybe if I something comes to me, maybe I'll be autistic and pedantic enough to demand that term be used.
RPG
forward,
is
but-
dumb said, whatever story naturally grows out of the game and character concepts becomes the reason that the character is in the campaign and not his neighbor back home grocery shopping. Yeah,
Right.
exactly. That kind of hits the nail on the head. The other thing is there also seems to be a lot of hostility to creating character backstories in the OSR. I don't get it. Like maybe it might be that they're dealing with the horror stories from these 5e games, or like maybe that, like, if you invite in some of the millennial people who have just started playing D&D as a result of Critical Role in the pandemic, and they're maybe dumping pages of backstory on you. I get that. Like, that is very dumb. But when I start a game, and this Lion and Dragon game that I'm going to run, actually, I'm not doing this. We're just going to roll up characters and start playing. But when I run like a serious game with people who are on the same page as me, like you are with role playing, like, I'm like, yeah, give me a backstory. Here's kind of the general kind of game I want to run. Maybe it's a mafia story, or you're on the road marching to war or something like that. Give them the seed of the idea. They come up with a character concept. I take all of these character concepts that they've given me and kind of find a way to weave that into the main idea. The main idea will change because of that. And then we start playing based on this thing that we've all kind of mutually put together. And this isn't that much work, by the way. And it's fun.
No, and it shouldn't be.
It's fun. I like doing it.
You're supposed to be doing as a player, and what you should be demanding your players do, if you were the GM, is they need to be painting you a picture of a believable person.
Yes.
Based on the statistics that they have, the place where the game is being set, the setting where the game is being set.
Yeah.
All of those things. I think the antagonism towards backstories is it's an understandable reaction to.
It's not based in nothing. Like, I get that it's not based in nothing.
Right. You do have these Zoomers and these millennials who are providing novels of shitty writing for things that ultimately don't matter, or they're
aren't going to be in the
again,
game.
You're writing fan fiction for your character, and more often than not, this has been encouraged with every edition of D&D. You're playing a level 1 character. You're someone who has not, generally speaking, you're playing someone who hasn't had much experience beyond the norm of whatever your life was sort of on track to be. You can take this any number of different ways. But if you're giving the GM a backstory and they're already the biggest badass, or they've already accomplished all of this other stuff, and the character's 19, level 1, like, you have this kind of, well, that's a disconnect in and of itself.
Yeah, and that's an inconsistency in your world.
Thing way too far.
Yeah, but like what you just said, you have someone who's got some epic badass adventure in their story that's led up to this. They've gone through all these traumatic events or whatever. They're level 1 when they start. That's a disconnect. If your character has done all of this epic crazy stuff, they shouldn't really be a level 1 character. That doesn't make sense. There's not a consistency in the world there. You're kind of, if your character is mechanically a noob, they should kind of be a noob in terms of life and adventuring.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, Vernon Hampton makes exactly the point we're making. I think backstories should be commensurate to level. Exactly.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. And the only exception to this, and I have a video about this, how to create good characters, was I played a character in a game that sadly died, who was old. And this was his last crack at bat. And so he had a fairly involved backstory. This was his last crack at bat, and a good explanation for why he was essentially level 1 in terms of like abilities and all this other shit is that he's fucking old.
Sure. And that character did make sense for the type of game which is being played.
Exactly.
So like with anything else, it's like the old adage: you need to understand the rules.
You need to know the
break them.
rules before
These
you
things
break
can
them.
be broken and bent, but you have to do it with some degree of I don't know what you'd call it, some degree of refinement.
With some level of thought. You can't just do
level
it
of thought.
for no reason. And this, and here's kind of getting back to that XP for gold thing. I've stayed away from D&D for a long time because I don't like the types of games that a lot of D&D players have like produced. And I didn't like when I played a Pathfinder game, like maybe 10 years ago, and it was a terrible game. And a big part of that was me as a player. I was, kind of following what I feel are the incentives of the game. And, I wasn't a problem player. That's not what I'm saying, but it was like, it turned into murder hobo land real quick. And my character became a very scummy, bad person. And it really, I didn't feel good about that game afterwards. Not because I was being evil. I'm fine with playing evil characters. It's fun.
Sure.
Within context of genre. But
genre.
yeah, it was just like, oh, I just don't like this game. I really just don't like this game.
Right. Again, it's a symptom of a disconnect. Right. Because the general assumption is that you are, to one degree or another, good people. I know you can play an evil character, but the vast majority of games which you see, people aren't doing it, and it's very clear that the tacit assumption in the books as written is that you are, to one degree or another, good people. You are fighting monsters, and you are
at least
saving civilization from what lurks beyond the borders.
There's a couple things in there. I think a lot of the kind of implicit like heroism aspect of it creeped in. That was made explicit in AD&D 2nd edition, and that was a reaction to the Satanic Panic. They instituted all sorts of standards and like basically scrubbed everything that was like weird and interesting from the game in an attempt to make
weird
it
or
more
ambiguous or
Yeah, exactly. They changed devils and demons to
individualistic.
it's like Beatzu or something.
Beator and Tenari,
Yeah, like something very hard to pronounce. Stupid sounding. But they did that in an attempt to make it a more like family friendly, acceptable brand. Now at the time, like, it's not that there wasn't violent worlds, and they still made cool stuff like Dark Sun and all that, but the original D&D was a lot weird. It was a lot more explicitly weird in a lot of ways. And I don't remember where I was going with that, but
it's all good. We got Steve Fillmore in the house. Steve Fillmore and us. And we know RPG is dumb, has thrown the gauntlet down, has called us and many other people out, and rightly so, for not putting their games up. Stay tuned very soon. We've been talking about that.
Yeah.
Even before this whole Twitter thing has gone off. Very, very soon. Stay tuned.
Stay tuned. I'm really excited. It's going to be a lot of fun.
I'm excited as well.
Yeah.
So, sooner perhaps than you might think.
Yep.
But Steve brings up the notion of milestone XP, and I will say when I have done, because I've said elsewhere I think in our first iteration of episode of the podcast, I got my start not in AD&D or OD&D or even 3.0. I got my start playing Pathfinder. That's what people who I found myself with were doing. I had fun doing it, and that is how experience was sort of allotted out in those games. And I think I have to put more thought into this, but my inclination, based on my own experience, is I do prefer, at least for that kind of D&D or D&D adjacent type game, some degree of milestone XP makes more sense to, not more sense to me, is more I guess appealing to my tendencies, because I really hate the over gamification or the clear out of character choices that a player makes for their character in order to maximize advancement or experience. And you do get that by awarding certain tried and standardized ways in which experience is allotted. That being said, there's a disconnect there for me as well, because milestone experience encourages storytelling games. It encourages a kind of story.
We need
on
to get
rails,
to some
which I
big
don't
epic beat
want to do.
so we can level. And
Right.
Yeah.
It demands some kind of specific thing for the players to overcome in order to justify the award of experience. So I'm well aware that that's not ideal either.
The games, like, I'm thinking like Vampire Within the Ring of Fire sort of does this, but the experience numbers in retrospect seem kind of arbitrary in terms of like, why wouldn't it just be 1x? Like you look at like World of Darkness games. I think this might be in Lion and Dragon as well, but you have it's like you get 1 XP per session of play that you're involved in. If you complete some major thing, you may get an additional XP, and then you do votes for best player. You know, Ring of Fire did that as well, but it was like tens of XP. Doesn't really matter. You could probably knock a 0 off of everything, and it would be fine. But that's kind of that's sort of the thing that I prefer is like you gain experience for participating in it. And if you do accomplish something major, you get additional XP. And if you are the best role player of the session, you get an additional XP.
Yeah.
That's the best way, in my opinion, because that incentivizes role play.
Very much the correct, the tendency we all see and we all know from up here. I only need 150 experience from the next level. Let's go kill some orcs. Because I need them. Even though we're all wounded and down, and my character, even though very much feeling afraid and pained at the wounds he's received, we got to do it, because all my experience or all my hit points come back the minute that last orc goes down and I cross over the threshold.
I can't farm the use of my language skills in order to level.
Yeah, a little bit of current commentary on some games we're both in at the moment.
Oh, my dog finally fell asleep. Thank God.
Oh, nice.
Stopped freaking out because of the weather.
Yeah, and Shauna, you're right. We did bring that up. If you want gold, just start a business.
I said that on Twitter.
Find a niche in the market.
People didn't like that.
Which, honestly, that's one of the things I actually did.
And actually, that old character that I was talking about, the old guy, he was a
that.
capitalist. Yeah, that was his.
Yeah.
I put my money where my mouth is, bitch.
Literally speaking.
Yeah.
in terms of that character.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like, I like the idea of being.
He was also in league with like the god of banking and interest.
Yeah,
it was great. Anyway.
Yeah. No, but I mean, that's super fun and super appealing to me. Being able to portray characters who are not just adventurers. That's why, from an experience perspective, the game that I have found which appeals to me most in terms of thematics and verisimilitude is Mithras, because it's a skill-based system. It's a percentile-based system. When you utilize a skill, it's possible when the GM calls for it to make a certain number of experience rolls, and that's how you advance. You advance by doing.
By actually doing.
You don't get a new suite of spells or abilities just by going to bed one night, and because you did kill that last orc,
There's no milestone leveling in the gym,
Right. Yeah, exactly. Hell
Max
yeah.
says, I wouldn't be able to upload a game I run. My players don't want to be public or publicly seen with me. Plus, it's multilingual. I mean, that's the situation we're always all in.
Yeah, the struggle.
Yeah.
One of the many struggles of our postmodern age.
Canuxarum, if I'm saying your name wrong, I'm sorry. The accumulation of gold and gear was to set the stage of the next phase of play in original D&D, where 9th level unlocked a base of operations. Yeah, I get that as well.
Play.
Yeah, domain play, and I get that. And like I said, I actually do sort of find this interesting, as long as I don't like complicated rule systems and looking at like attack tables and shit like that from original D&D.
Yeah, I
have zero interest in that. So I am interested though in some of the newer OSR games running a game in that style. But I don't think that I'll get the same sort of. That's not true. I know I'll get the same. I know I will get out of it what I want, because I will be playing and I will be running the game, and I won't be stuck at someone's trash table where the dungeon makes no sense on its own.
Yes.
I won't play in a bad game, so this won't be a problem for me. But it is a problem for me when I hear people describe their games, and I'm just like,
Especially when they put that over as a quality game.
Exactly.
Like, this is the best. Like, no, this is fucking the
run
worst.
it like I do, and I'm like, I would rather. I can't say what I would rather
learn
do.
all my RPG
yeah,
books.
I've already
exactly.
said a word on stream that I'm not supposed to say. So, if your character motivation is gold, once you get a big score, you would stop going into dungeons. Yeah, I agree.
True.
I mean, like, why would you be going through these like literal nightmare scenarios where you might be dissolved by some sort of acid monster or have like limbs ripped off, be devoured?
Right.
Why would you do that over and over and over again? Especially after you get out when the getting is good. Right.
and again, from
Lamentations of the Flame
Princess.
Lamentations of the Flame Princess has rules for investing treasure. Yeah. Oh shit! Did I disappear?
Disappeared.
What the fuck? My camera's still on though. Lamentations. I played in a Lamentations game and thought it was pretty fun. That was actually before I knew it was an OSR product. That was my first exposure to the OSR. Let me see if I can fix this camera.
I played one single session of it. Unfortunately, it wasn't long enough or involved enough to put over a lot of what people seem to like about it. Yeah. But I do appreciate the tone and the aesthetics,
and that's one that has that explicit weirdness in it. Because I think I was in the guy who ran that was Samwise 7. He's a great guy, and I think he did that for Brigade Con like 10 years ago. And I was like, I want in that, and I think it was like his published adventure that he ran. It was pretty cool. It was like Mercanto's Lair.
Something for that.
I think he did. Don't quote me on that. Because this was a long time ago.
Yeah.
But it was a pretty weird and cool game. Let's see.
Yeah, for sure.
Shauner says Scrooge accrued riches that way. He min-maxed his character, that's obviously. Right. Yeah.
He is a level 20 capitalist, that is for sure. Scrooge McDuck.
You would stop. Okay, no. Gelatinous Rube. This is where you're missing things. You're saying you would stop going into dungeons, quoting us. I see none of you have ever played a game like this once in your entire lives. It's not about the game. It's about the game not having a sense of reality or it's not ringing true. We are saying a real person, a person that has, actual characteristics that are similar to people in the world or characters in good stories, after going through some horrific experience like that, would not continue seeking it out. It doesn't make sense. I'm not saying the game isn't fun, that you as a player don't enjoy going into the dungeon and whacking the monsters with your sword. That's not what we're fucking saying. God damn it, these people are so stupid.
Yeah, and again, the only way in which you would go back or continue to endanger yourself, your body, your life, in some cases your soul, the only way you would continue to persevere is if the characters had a dramatic reason for the character.
Right.
There's a lich in the fucking thing. There's a lich in the dungeon. It's taken my daughter's soul, or it's going to do something. My wife is captured by a vampire or something, or goblins have raided and taken people I care about, or they've blocked a passage. They have all the food we need for winter because they raided us. Fair enough. You would potentially risk yourself. Your character would risk themselves. But again, that goes directly against gold as the motivating factor, as the thing which is giving you advancement. Going into a dungeon for those reasons, that's fine. That would be great. That would be exactly
right. This is our point. Is if you do some world building around it and have it have a just a semi plausible explanation, like that.
Right. Right.
So
it would be much easier to acquire gold in 1,000 other ways.
Yeah.
Chief of which, just do what you apprentice to do. And you're in a fantasy village.
Right. And
your father was a blacksmith. You become a blacksmith.
And if it's not literally about the gold, because like people brought up to me on Twitter, it's about adventuring and obtaining the gold. And once you spend it, even if you like bought, sold something and got gold, you don't get experience from just commerce, So
Right.
It's not about gold. There's something else in there. It's adventuring, and you're using this as this carrot that's being held out in front of you like bait to get you to do something. Come up with a motivation. Come up with a motivation to do these things. It doesn't have to be gold.
All of these things are exactly like what you said. They're player motivations.
Yeah.
You would have to be out of your goddamn mind as a character.
That's exactly right. They are player motivations, right? Not character motivations.
Unless that's you could have that. I hate that I'm like bending over backwards.
No, because
because
I know, because you're finding a way in which you could run this game.
Right.
You're trying to wrap your head around how you could run this game that has no appeal to you, but you're trying to do a thought experiment in which Nick runs the game in this style. And it turns out that when you run it in this style, you're not actually running it in this style because this style is stupid.
Exactly.
All right, let's catch up on the chat a little bit here because we got a lot of coming in. Connexorm again said cons were bad for that. Some new person going on and on and on about min-max character. Oh, for fuck's sake, just get to the point already. But hey, maybe it's a new gamer friend. But hygiene, con hygiene, rediscover the soap trademark. If you like Lamentations, you'll really like the Nightmares Underneath. There's a free PDF available from its author, Johnstone Metzger. Cool, yeah, actually, I would love to check that out. Bilbo got a big haul, and then he was content. That's correct. He stayed home and wrote his novel. And let the ring devour his mind.
Yes.
It's the caved-in head Wojak meme with this dude, lol. Yep. No one has gone into any dungeons until a fighter class is created.
Yeah.
Hey, reaction, Mr. Max, I love board games. But they're not role-playing games. And like I said earlier, right. I love Diablo. That's not a role-playing game.
Yeah. No, I know. I almost never have the opportunity to play board games.
Is the angry Garibay.
Yeah.
Actually, we were kind of discussing that.
We were talking about the inverse Garibay.
The OSR has some inverse Garibays because it's like you've got both of them have this
blind piety.
Yeah, it's like blind piety towards Gygax, but it's expressed in completely different ways. It's like the OSR guys they seem to be full of like jihadists, who if you deviate from the word of Gygax, it's like we need to behead this person. And then on like Garibay is like a Protestant.
Garibay's like the Sunnis and
but he's not because it's like he's not playing like everything that he is into has nothing to do with Gary Gygax.
Well, Garibay has Garibay is completely piously devoted to the latest iteration of the thing which Gygax created, which I don't even, he's not fully cognizant of, well, he has no self-awareness whatsoever, but whatever is the most recent thing, that is what is good. And a lot of the OSR people are very much whatever the first incarnation is, that is good, full stop. Which no conversation.
Which in the case of current D&D, I think is a decent instinct. There is cool stuff from back then that has been abandoned for dumb reasons.
Right.
Like, I get that. It's a better instinct than just accept new product. But it's still not correct.
It is still not correct for all the reasons we have and will continue to discuss on this. Lost our place in the chat. Where are we?
Let's see. We talked... Oh, wow. It's gone up quite a bit. No one's gone into any dungeons. We read that one. Shauner says D&D has no roleplay value and no replay value as well.
Agreed. Max brings up Burning Wheel. Burning Wheel, I have Burning Wheel. Burning Wheel is very interesting to me.
I've never read it.
I know the guy who made it is an insufferable shitlib, but...
Many such cases.
Many such cases. But I have to say, it might be the most unique game.
Shauner and Steve are getting into it right now. I played a game that had been running for an extended period of time and has been very well run and is very roleplay heavy and character driven. Shauner says, Steve Fillmore, stop lying to us and to yourself.
Damn. Shots fired.
Yeah, that's amazing. For the record, we love both Steve and Shauner.
We do. We are not getting involved.
The difference between the Sunni and the Shia is who was the true successor of Muhammad. SJG and the OSR are about what is the true legacy of Gygax. Exactly.
Thank you, Max, for saving my metaphor.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, lots of opinions, which is great.
Yeah, we love that.
Yeah, Luke Crane. Crane is the guy who made Burning Wheel.
Hey, if you guys are enjoying this, even you, Rube, if you're still watching, give us a like on the video. Yeah. Gets our stuff into the algorithm. Like. Yeah, or a dislike. I don't care. Just just engage.
That's true. Yeah, the right, Max, you're right. The way Burning Wheel, it is truly the like an autist handbook. Which I have to respect the level of sort of obscene granularity to a very particular kind of play style is admirable, and it all does seem to work. I attempted to run a Burning Wheel game, but again, schedules the eternal bane of any group, especially an online group, which this was. I have not internalized or fully understood all of the aspects of that game, especially the more complex and, to me, convoluted. If I remember right, there's like 3 layers.
Yeah, Max was
combat system.
Yeah, he was talking about this. He had a video the other day that was like, what makes a game objectively bad as opposed to just being not to his liking. And one of it was like, if the game has multiple sets of mechanics that are very similar to each other but not the same, that is a mark of bad design.
Yeah.
It's like, why not use the same core mechanic to resolve all of it? I don't want to... Go watch the video if you guys are listening to this, because I assure you, watching his video is going to be way better than me describing it.
Yeah. I think what I from what I've read of Burning Wheel, the 2 things I like about it are a very elaborate skill system. I like that it uses life paths. I tend to like a life path system. And I like the bits system. It's belief, instinct, and traits. Belief, instinct, and traits. Cool idea there. But it's super. Maybe I'm just retarded. It seems super complicated to me to juggle all the different ways in which you can advance. There's multiple ways to advance by getting more. It's a D6 dice pool system. You could get more dice in your dice pool, and or you could also increase. I think it's 4s, 5s, and 6s are successes. You can get more dice in your die pool, or you could also gain mastery in a skill by having not just 4, 5, 6 be success, but 3, 4, 5, 6 be success, 2 through 6 be successes. I don't. It's a lot, but very interesting product. I want to put it through its paces at some point, at least to the best of my ability.
Only one person has ever been able to tell me how the burning wheel mechanic works.
Same old G.
Yeah.
Might well be.
Victor Gorchev, how's it going? You're the is that the Stay Buffed Marshmallow Man? Let me check that on Twitter, make sure. Now my dog is snoring, finally. Better than being tied up in the cables because of the lightning.
You go. Yeah, so...
Yep, it's a Stay Buffed Marshmallow Man. Welcome to the chat.
Hell yeah. Welcome.
How does slapping a coat of paint on top of D&D make a new game? It's just D&D with extra rules. Which game are you talking about, man? I mean, I kind of agree. Like, all of these OSR games are essentially, they are D&D.
Right.
Some are better and worse versions of D&D, but they are Dungeons and Dragons at their core.
Yeah. Max, it's always hard to tell with Same OG. He takes long hiatuses. I know he works in academia. But hopefully he'll be back one day.
Big Bad says pick one. Yeah, that's true, but I mean, it's all about picking the flavor that you like. I don't hate D&D as a system. It's fairly easy to learn. I definitely prefer other systems to D&D rules, but I mean, it's not the most popular role-playing game of all time just because it was first or just because it was has brand recognition. That's certainly a part of what's driving its modern popularity. It is a factor, but there's more to it than that, I think. Like, for instance, this product that I have right here, it's going to freak out too much, so I'm just going to turn off. I'm going to give you a look behind the curtain, if you will, which has already actually been seen.
Let me move my cigarettes out of the way.
I'll just do it for me. Here. There we go. But this is a Wretched role-playing game by The Red Room.
Ah, yes.
I've only had a chance to kind of flip through this today a little bit, but this is very much, like it says, its focus is on creating like anti-heroes, but it's meant to be used across different genres and time period, with the limitation of it being kind of focused on something that's a little seedier and grimier. You might still end up being the hero. The things that initially came to mind, like they have quotes from movies and everything like that on each new chapter. One of them is William Money from Unforgiven, which, if you guys haven't seen Unforgiven, it's like the ultimate Western. It's incredible. But the more I went into it and started reading some of the mechanics, which it does have like its own little flair on D&D to it, it started reminding me, it was like what kind of character I would make. It reminded me of Mel Gibson in Payback as the perfect example. And there's like systems for magic and all sorts of stuff, but it's got a kind of it takes itself seriously within the confines of genre, which is what I really like, but there's definitely a sense of a little bit of fun and goofiness to it as well, which is I think you can see kind of presented on the cover. Also, this is the first book that I've had from Lulu. I definitely prefer this print book to the drive-through RPG books that I have, which I have a lot of them. Just the paper feels better. The blacks are really deep on the page. The color on the page.
Nice.
And it's also a great example. They hired some artists, but they also had they used, I think, Stable Diffusion for AI art for some of it, and have made it look consistent with the rest of the art in the book. There's a couple pieces that I was like, I can tell that's AI art, because I make a lot of AI art. I use Midjourney a lot. Got to make thumbnails and stuff. And I'm not a photographer or Photoshop aficionado, but it was done well, which is actually kind of hard to do. So it's a really cool product.
It's very impressive for, I think is it just two people? Like,
yeah,
him and his wife?
Yeah, it's him and I'm assuming they're married. Yeah.
Yeah.
But they're great. It's very creative. It seems like I was reading this and I was like, this seems like it's going to be a lot of fun to play and run. And right now, so this is like kind of their new edition. This is the core rulebook. And they have all of their other games, I think, were full games that all had their own like version of the rules. This is now the core book, and then each additional supplement is going to be like second edition of like Wretched Bastards, or I think they have one called like Sexual Holocaust or something. Yeah, they're going to be a setting book that will have expanded mechanics for that setting. But it seems really cool. I mean, I could also imagine running like something like Big Trouble in Little China using this like very easily. You can do all like anything like that has more of kind of like a demonic or Conan kind of feel to the fantasy, a little grittier and grimier. Like there's all sorts of stuff you could do with this. It seems like a lot of fun.
I really like
and it is D&D is how this whole thread of train of thought started. It is still at its core. It is an OSR D&D product.
OSR type product.
Yeah.
I like the cut of their jib, and I really want to do something with their Welcome to St. Cloud book. Of course, being both us and the Red Room clearly in our names being fans of Twin Peaks.
Oh yeah, exactly.
It's their sort of.
They have it's like seeing that. It's like another person of culture. I see.
Yes, yeah.
It's D&D exploitation, like the blaxploitation films of the 1970s. Exactly.
Yeah, and like that is in and of itself.
Yeah. Also, the Gibson movie Dragged Across Concrete. That's exactly a perfect example. That is who directed that. J. Scott Garibay is the name that comes to mind whenever these names. It's not that. It's the guy who did Bone Tomahawk and and
I don't recall
Brawl
what his name
and
is,
Cell Block 99, I think is what it's called. S. Craig Zoller is his name.
Okay.
Fantastic director, fantastic films. Dragged Across Concrete is awesome.
Yeah, very sad they did get nuked from drive-through, but
they're very open about using Midjourney, which is great. I mean, like if you can get it to produce good results, that's awesome.
Use it, especially if it's just you and you're self-publishing yourself. Yeah. Absolutely.
And every discussion surrounding AI art is stupid. Like without fail, every single discussion of it is completely idiotic because there's people who are concerned about copyright and things like that, because their images are being used as training data for these things. I would like to know, those people who produced that art, what was their training data? They have viewed, analyzed, probably in many cases practiced and copied art from all before us in history. Like this is literally no different. And it's also just a fundamentally like people are completely misunderstanding. Like they would see an AI version of their drawing where it's literally like someone traced over it with AI, and that's because someone fed the image to the AI and said adjust it in this way. Essentially, I've done that. Like the thumbnail that on the Garibay episode, I gave it a picture of Garibay and gave it a prompt, and it made something that looks sort of like Garibay. That's what's happening with their drawing being, output by the AI. It's not that, it picked your picture out of the training data set, which isn't even included because that's not how any of this works. This is what I'm saying. I'm getting angry right now because people don't even have, I have a very superficial understanding of how this works. I am a technically inclined person. I'm a programmer. I don't know very much about machine learning, but I know I've read, the Wikipedia descriptions of how GPT works. I've watched a couple of videos on these things, but the people who are coming out with these idiotic statements about AI art and AI in general, it's like they don't know anything. They don't know anything.
Right. What's hilarious is Midjourney is better than 98% of art
I know.
out there, which is all cartoon trash.
Yeah.
Miserable.
Steve Fillmore says, Shauner, if your only experience with the system is with bad players, it has effectively destroyed that system for you. You're extremely unlikely to go back to it. The hobby is about experience. That's true, but I do think that you can evaluate systems after playing through them. Even because I've been in games that have bad systems with great players, and it's not as good as having the same great players in a game that has a good system.
Yeah, and I've played all of my the games I've played at cons have been terrible, but I'm as terrible as the games
Matt Gibbons.
were.
Good to see you.
Hey.
Matt Gibbons is my buddy who got me into Vampire way back in the day.
Oh,
Yeah, he's
this our okay?
This
Excellent.
is
Good, excellent. Looking forward to it.
Yeah, Red Room got nuked from drive-through. That is true.
Yeah. The clip, they're putting stuff out there, and I think they have a dedicated and growing fan base. I hope.
I hope so. Yeah, I hope they make more YouTube videos. Because honestly,
same.
That's kind of our philosophy. Is we're just still getting started, but YouTube is such a good platform for discovery. It has the best audience discovery system out there ever. It's how I found most of your guys' channels, was just that it served them up to me. So we're hoping that we get served up to the people who are interested in this. And it's a great way. I think it's better than just plastering your stuff in a store like Drive-Thru or Big Geek Emporium. And there's nothing wrong. There's nothing wrong with doing that. Obviously sell your products, and sell them where they can be, but it's you can leverage things like YouTube and social media to sell your products a lot more than relying on those stores too.
Because no one is ever going to find your game
right
in the sea of RPGs which are out there.
Yeah. Although I think the Red Room, when they were on Drive-Thru, were starting to do fairly well. They were getting a pretty good fan base. And this is kind of the point that I was just making, though, is that when they got kicked off of Drive-Thru, they said on Twitter maybe last week that they feel like their audience kind of evaporated. Nobody knows how to find them anymore.
Interesting. That seems odd.
Yeah, it's I hope they start making more YouTube videos and stuff, because I think that
I'm sure they did lose some people. They've been so upfront with kind of their worldview, let's say.
Yeah, but the products.
Some people still would Drive-Thru kick them off, and so.
But my point is that if they were on Drive-Thru and they were getting maybe their stuff was selling well, so it starts getting recommended to people through just Drive-Thru's algorithms or whatever. That may have been how people found out about them, as opposed to finding them through sources like YouTube or Twitter or whatnot. Yeah. So then when that store went away, they essentially ceased to exist to these people.
It's possible.
Yeah,
it's possible.
I don't know though. This is literally all complete speculation.
That's what we're trying to do. To divine how the machine works.
Yeah. I think basically it just comes down to if people like your stuff, then that's it. Yeah. But I do a lot of astrology trying to figure out how YouTube works, and a lot of staring at our analytics and.
Yeah.
YouTube is crucial for RPG advertising now. You got to get eyes on the product to create genuine attention. You preview your work and establish your bona fides. Yeah, exactly. I kind of hate that step one of every creative endeavor now is build a YouTube audience. Yeah, I mean, sort of, except that it's like YouTube is basically the number 2 search engine in the world, number 1 being Google. Like anytime I want to learn about something, I go to YouTube now because I like consuming videos, and I think most people do. So I think it's just a fact of life now. It is neither good nor bad. It simply is.
Yeah. Yeah. It is. It just is the case. Max, you are right. Most talk a lot about differentiating between reality and fiction in RPGs, but most people can't. They see stuff on TV or in movies and they real life. Very true. Real life, or the only type of creative enterprise which has to be copied. It has to be copied. Right? You can't have a mafia story or a game or an experience in a mafia setting other than Goodfellas or The Godfather or something like that.
RPG is dumb says Twitter you can build just by asking people their favorite colored armor once a day. It's it's a much less real following. Yeah, I agree. Matt Gibbons says World of Darkness is greater than D&D. Agree.
Agree. Big agree. Big agree there.
Men RPG was over the top though. Yeah, over the top, but I mean, like, to get them
I haven't
banned,
checked it out. I do want to buy it though.
It looks really funny.
Yeah.
Like your 3 stats are brains, brawn, and balls.
Nice. It's one of these things. It's only for my. It does sound a bit too goofy. It probably isn't something I would want to play too much of. Really, it's only as a joke or something, or in support.
Right.
Just in support for their.
Right. I don't think that you're going to run a long-term campaign of men.
Men.
And I don't think it's intended to either.
Yeah.
Max says Red Room got into trouble with drive-thru for using the word Holocaust while not referring to the alleged suffering of the Jews. That's correct. I think because their product was called Sexual Holocaust, they freaked out about it being called Holocaust, but they had also, I think, that might have been the first thing that happened with the Red Room, or there was a previous thing where one of their products got pulled. And then drive-thru also, like, maybe last year or so, they released some update to their terms of service where you as a creator on their platform are not allowed to speak badly of them on social media. And so they said, hey, this is kind of fucked up that drive-thru did this. Like, what the fuck? They said that on social media, and then they're like, oh, you violated our policy, and just pulled them down.
Got it.
Yeah. It was like,
So
and like
lame.
didn't warn them or anything. It was really bad.
Very much in keeping.
Yeah.
Max, I would love play in a one-shot of Men on stream.
Yeah, that would be awesome.
So I think you got 2 people right here.
Yeah.
The one-shot is I think it seems like it would be the perfect
Right.
kind of deal.
I feel like I got to get back to the gym before we play Men, though.
That is true. We all
Yeah.
do. Well, yeah. Max, send me workout tips. I need to get back to the gym and not come back.
I think he has a channel. He has a channel.
Just a fitness channel? I'll
Yeah,
have to check
somebody
that.
said he had a channel dedicated to lifting.
Oh hell yeah!
I perused it. The game is a curiosity. It is not genuinely funny. It's too rich, like a chocolate cake with chocolate cream and chocolate sprinkles and cocoa powder.
Well, I don't mind a little bit of indulgence from time to time.
Shadow Dark RPG is a YouTube product. Possibly. I backed it. I want that book, and I'll tell you why. The art on that Kickstarter is awesome. And that's the kind of stuff that I miss in RPG products, is having good art. And I love
Art
black and white.
value.
Yeah, I love black and white. And I don't imagine I'll play that game very much. I might, like, we've discussed different ideas we've had for one shots for it that would be maybe a bit extreme for for YouTube, but that would be kind of the point.
That's the point. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the point. But it's I was really impressed by the art, and I'm looking forward to having that book because I like having books.
I will say the answer may never come to light, but it is true that the art and the production value from what I have seen does look quite good. On the other hand, there is something about the overwhelming success of Shadow Dark from a monetary perspective on Kickstarter that feels like
Suspicious.
It screams industry plant to me.
Yeah.
Or something.
I don't think it's an industry, but I think it's a combination of factors because it happened because she's been working on the game for...
Industry plant doesn't work.
No.
Really,
I know what you're
what
saying,
I mean.
though. I know what you're saying. It all seems so...
Collusion here.
Yeah, like they're like the world that... like it was a meteoric rise out of nowhere. I know she'd been working on the game for a very long time. Like she's got old videos on it. And I think it was just a case of like, that was the perfect project at the perfect time because
the perfect
the OGL crisis happened
behind it.
Yeah, exactly. The perfect person behind it. So when she could say like, what you're doing with the OGL is going to ruin my game. And this is, I don't support this, like blah, blah, blah. Yeah. It was someone who could kind of not be criticized and who also had made a bunch of successful D&D products previously. Like I think she made like one of the most popular independent adventure modules for 5e.
I did not know that. I have not.
Yeah, no. She's
aware of anything else she's done.
She's done a lot. Like she's legitimately made a lot of stuff.
Okay.
But I think it was because the OGL crisis happened right then. It was the kind of perfect moment for that project. Like I think it would have been funded and it probably would have done okay.
Probably. Yeah.
I don't think it would have done $1 million. Without that. Like it was kind of the perfect timing. But also like her point when the OGL thing happened was not wrong. I mean, she's like, okay, so the game I've been working on for 3 years, I can't sell it now. Like what? Mm-hmm. Like thanks Wizards.
Yeah. Yeah, that does make sense.
That would suck. Yeah.
I would say I'd be pissed.
I'd be pissed. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the thing. Actually, if any of you guys are creators out there, I asked this on Twitter and I did not get a single bite. But given the OGL and the Creative Commons, whatever is happening right now, if you were to attempt to publish an OSR product, do you just use the OGL? Like what's the protocol right now? Because I have no idea.
I don't know if there is one right. Mm-hmm. It still seems to me, based on what I've read and what I've
nothing
watched,
sounds finalized, so I don't trust.
Nothing sounds finalized. It also seems like
God damn it.
This OGL issue would not have affected the vast majority of what's already out there.
No, it would have, because they were trying to revoke the old OGL. Like they were not.
But
I think they were basically going to say you can't sell anything because the OGL is no longer valid.
Right, but you can't. Even if there was no OGL, at least you can't copyright die mechanics.
True, but
so I still think
that doesn't mean you can't sue someone for copying your die mechanic, even if eventually it gets thrown out. Wizards of the Coast has a lot of money, and
that is true.
Like if I got sued right now by some big corporation, like
sure,
they'd be able to bury me just with legal bills.
It is interesting. It is interesting. I feel like it was an intimidation maneuver. I still don't think Wizards would, because Wizards, even though they have money, they are a bureaucratic, sluggish monstrosity.
True.
I don't even think that had they been successful, they would maybe have gone after maybe one ISO.
What is it? Kobold Press or
Kobold? I don't
what
know.
they're doing. I don't know anything about them. So
all I know is that I know. Seems like other people are doing their. There's a number of other people trying to make their own open games thing.
Yeah.
I know Chaosium is
the Orc
I think
license.
doing that. Paizo is doing that. I think that was the whole purpose of the new Sword and Wizardry Kickstarter. Changing a couple of the names. Magic Missile to Magical Missile or something like that. I don't know. It still does seem up in the air.
Mr. Max says, look at TSM training on YouTube. It only has a few videos. I decided to make public instead of sending private videos to people I coach.
Nice. I will.
And he says, she wasn't a no-name either, I think referring to Kelsey Dion. The leader of the OSR, according to Scott Garibay.
According to Scott Garibay.
Yeah, and she is Hollywood ready, by the way. That's just my humble opinion.
I kind of want to start a Garibay quotes Twitter channel of just the most insane takes, which is almost everything.
Shakespeare's got nothing on your DM three doors down.
Books are a dead medium.
Yeah.
Full stop. Amazing.
Yeah, oh man, he says some funny stuff.
Yeah.
We might have talked about this. Oh no, because I don't think we were on last week, but we were we did talk about I think offline. Garibay made a couple of videos recently where he actually said some like sort of just reasonable things, and I remember like as soon as he started like he immediately started making sense. I turned the video off. I was like, I don't care. You're not saying anything crazy. I was like, oh, I agree with you. Bye.
Yep.
Frog Archist, hello. Is this Scott Garibay? Please stop talking. This is Scott Garibay. Please stop talking to me.
No. Yeah, welcome, man. That is true. RPG is dumb. The most popular Twitter tabletop topics are the most shallow and boring. That is true because it gets the most.
Calling her Hollywood ready, that's a big accusation. Very true. Excuse me. Frog has been taken over by Garibay.
I hate to see it. Sad times.
Yeah.
Sad times.
Frog Argus, you missed it. You missed it earlier. We roasted some guy that we got into it on Twitter with the other day. It was pretty fun.
But I don't know if he's.
He might still be here.
He's talking to us, but scrolling back up. Ash of Creativity 0717. Message me if y'all get a show together. We'll do something more interesting than this. I'm not sure if that's
because I think it is. I think this is maybe a Discord or a Guilded, because I did see a message earlier and we were talking, so it slipped my mind. But he did say something like, let's farm this drama. Which I kind of respect.
I kind of respect that.
I kind of respect that.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah.
We'll
see.
Which D&D... I'm going to read this in Shauner voice. Which D&D adventure is your favorite? Yeah, it's a Discord number.
Discord number, yeah.
Shauner, your videos, I laugh so hard.
Your videos
They're
are
so
awesome.
funny.
They're so good.
Oh my god. There was one that
the exasperation.
That was maybe a couple of months ago or weeks ago, where Shauner is watching a video called like I don't know, it's like tips for GMs or something like that. And as he's, kind of criticizing this guy, he looks in the sidebar and one of this guy's videos is recommended and it says like 10 terrible things bad GMs do. He's like, he should have called this video all this advice he's giving. I laughed. I was like, my sides hurt. Thank you for the good. Yeah, it is a good Shauner voice.
Yeah, but the like 45-second whatever Garibay PSA video is funny because
Yeah.
stop doxing yourself.
Yeah.
That's it. Like, which is funny because
So
I
here's
I used to
Garibay.
live where he is, so like I know exactly where you're going
Yeah.
through.
It was so funny. He's like, yeah,
Hilarious.
as you can see, Garabay's passing by this shop here. And here it is on Google. Stop doxing yourself, you idiot.
Oh my god. Oh yeah. Yes, indeed. Oh yeah. I could see
I used
that.
to get imitated by the brigade dudes.
Yeah. I wonder
The highest form of flattery.
or something. Yeah, for sure.
His house.
Oh my god. It's funny. But I don't remember what video it was of yours, Shauna, recently. I don't remember if it was one of the last 2 RPG videos you made. The you were talking about or you made the point you can identify maybe 3 or 4 like RPGs which fit into your aesthetic tastes, your play style, your preference with regards to interfacing with the mechanics. I think that is true. I feel like something I want to do, Matt, with this. We're definitely going to explore on this channel or this enterprise of ours. There are a number of games which I've heard about for a number of years or am recently hearing about. I do want to experience a number of these other types of games, these other types of settings. Because again, given the number of RPGs out there, I guess nobody, unless you're crazy or dedicating all of your time, and money, like Runeslinger, buying it seems like every RPG known to man. I don't know if he gets to play them all, but it seems like he at least tries. There's still a number of like white whales out there of things I've long been interested in, and I don't know if I would love or hate them. I've mentioned, I think, elsewhere, maybe in a previous episode of the podcast, Empire of the Petal Throne, or any of the iterations of Ecamel World. I know there was a Kickstarter, which I did kickstart, sort of bringing a new iteration of World, which I think itself is sort of like an OSR type deal. Pendragon, I would like to attempt at some point. Palace Lanta, some other things as well. I do agree there is there's like a weird warped tendency to just collect role-playing games. I think that's very much to do with what would you say, the hobby has become overridden with consumer like programming.
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely like people do end up collecting these like they are Star Wars toys or whatever thing. Like,
yeah,
they are in for a lot of people collectors things. And I don't think that there's necessarily anything wrong with that if you actually read the book and enjoy it. You may not end up playing it. But yeah, I mean, it's like everybody's in the contest to see how extensive their shelf can get, which I don't really have an interest in that at all. I want to own games.
It's like a different thing.
Even if I don't play a game, never get to running it or don't run it very often. If I like a game, I like to have the book because I also just get enjoyment purely out of reading them because I I like thinking about them.
Right. Yeah, you can mine even if you don't use that system.
Yeah, it contributes to ideas and creativity, and
like reading a fiction novel or something.
Yeah.
Or watching,
or nonfiction, or it's just. But yeah, I don't have any desire. Like, if I could get back my old vampire books that I gave away when I moved, I would do that and add, I think, 2 or 3 more from that line of that period. I probably will reassemble that collection at some point. But I don't have a desire to own every book that was produced in that game line. I don't I don't care. It's like there's books that I know that I loved and that I got a lot of value out of, and there are a few that I never got around to getting that I know were also very, very high quality, and then there's a bunch where I was like, I don't give a shit about this at all.
Yeah, agreed.
I also sort of remember Dawnforge Cast.
I remember him as well. I'm surprised he was before the Great Awakening, but it always seemed to me, at least from what I remember of him, surprised that he wasn't woke, because he always struck me as someone who would be. But I may be completely misremembering. I have no idea if he's still around or not. I don't really care.
If you get a chance to play a game helmed by Runeslinger, jump at the chance. He's an excellent player too, decent man. Yeah, I mean, I haven't followed
like a very
Runeslinger in a long
guy,
time, but for years I was watching his stuff. Yeah, he's great. He also is one of the only people that's exactly, me too. But he's also one of the only people who's run a game of Wraith online.
True.
Great channel. Yeah.
A great channel. I very much would love to. I would love to talk with him. I would love to be in a game with him. Listening to his podcast, I'm pretty certain we disagree quite strongly on politics, but that's okay.
Yeah.
He is a very I like his attitude and his demeanor in his discussion of role-playing games, and in his podcast episodes discussing the same thing are very thought-provoking.
I'll buy a game if I like the setting. I can always use the setting in the game system I run. Yep.
Agreed.
I love reading RPG books, but just core books. I get bored by lore. Most of it sucks. I just want to see your rules. Yeah, I mean, I think most products that most people put out are terrible and that's across.
Well,
that's
is true.
That's video games. That's like everything. And I like to get those things that I think are kind of like the pinnacle. So yeah, if it's bad lore, I never want to read it.
Agreed.
That's like an assault on my being, and I hate it. But if it's good lore, I do want to read it. Not all of it necessarily. Like I agree. I also really like reading the core mechanics of games and seeing what is the character creation process, and like what are the options, because that is what gives me like ideas for the game.
Right. But I tend not to. I guess in the past, occasionally I would pick up or look into a game for the mechanics if it seemed like it was putting over a genre or a setting or a type of gimmick which I hadn't found a mechanic previously that I think would do that genre well. I feel like there's so many systems already out there. There's different dice pool systems, D10s, D6s. There's ubiquitous D20 system. There's ubiquity system. There is percentiles, on and on and on.
There's
how many more mechanical
D10,
iterations?
Yeah.
how much more really is there? I kind of think that for the most part, most of like the mechanical permutations have already been done before. Now, inevitably I'll be proven wrong time.
Well, maybe in regards to like what is the core die rolling mechanic, but there's a lot of like interesting variation that you can put on top of those things. That doesn't necessarily burying yourself in more rules. Like for instance in Wretched role playing, they have it's a slightly different version than like critical hits, where you have like special wounding dice, I think, that you can spend to roll for like an extra effect, where like you then you roll that die and you see what the result is on like this small table. It's like a D6, and it'll be like you knock out someone's teeth and they now have one, their sex appeal is lowered by one. Like you get like some grievous groin shot to them. Like it's basically critical hits, but they're like,
hell yeah,
they're pretty cool. And like I like little things like that. Or like you said with Vampire 5th edition, like Hunger Dice or whatever it is. Like
the Hunger Dice are great.
That's a new thing. And like it's not necessarily totally different than the core mechanic, but it's a unique little thing.
That is true. Yeah. I guess that is a contradiction of what I. Well,
it's not a contradiction. I just think usually wrong.
I'm looking. No, that's true. Usually I'm looking for a game because the setting has grabbed me. Which to you?
Yeah, I agree. Same
point, Max, regarding Symbaroum. People are raving about the lore of Symbaroum, but it makes no sense. They have a queen for a ruler, for fuck's sake. I don't understand the appeal of Symbaroum. I have never picked up Symbaroum. I never liked the art style. I didn't like the art aesthetic, and so I never was interested at all.
None of it makes any sense. They have a queen for a ruler, for fuck's sake. Yep. no verisimilitude.
Yeah, but yeah, agreed. There occasionally comes these like popularity spikes, and some of them I'm on board with, some of them are not. Mm-hmm. Yeah, Canuck, if you can put us on Runeslinger's radar, that would be awesome.
Yeah.
Love.
Tell them we're longtime fans.
Longtime fans. I've been watching this stuff for like 10 years.
Yeah. I look for character gen mechanics, character deaths when reading a new RPG at the store. Yeah, honestly, that is something I want to know pretty much immediately is, can these characters die?
Yeah, can they die? How convoluted is the character creation process? How convoluted is the dice mechanic? And usually I'll look at the combat section because I hate combat. And if this is going to make me infuriated
I
or
like
exhausted
combat, but it's immediately the sign of what the rest of the game is going to be if the combat is super complicated.
Yeah, agreed. So I'll look at that to see if can I even deal with this, or am I just going to get pissed off? Yeah, and if on more than one occasion I've put something down that seemed interesting because the combat looked too bloated and burdensome. Mm-hmm.
Rift's original core book, dopest lore vibe ever. I hate to say it, I never read Rifts. I saw it in the store when I was a kid many times. When my brother's friends would bring over Rifts and they'd play every once in a while, but that was not in the house.
The art.
Yeah, I know the cover on the core book is
a reptile dude with the hot babes
chicks.
On the hover thing.
It's so cool.
Fucking awesome.
Yeah. But yeah, I haven't read Rifts. It's I'm gonna have to.
Yeah. Yeah, agreed. We got here.
I want to know what can kill a character.
Consider character death to be covered by mechanics. An interesting thought.
It seems okay. So Shauner's saying he hates hit points. A lot of people seem to hate hit points these days. There's lots of videos on the topic of how to get rid of them and fix them, and I don't hate them. It's not perfect, but it still makes sense to me. Like you can do a lot worse than hit points, in my opinion. Like
so I would agree. The other ways in which sort of damage is calculated in any other game, at least that comes to knowledge on hand right now, I've liked them far less. I don't like wounds. I don't like how World of Darkness has checkboxes. You fill them all up with bashing and then lethal
and then aggravated.
and
Yeah.
aggravated. I don't like that. I have like the new edition. It's not really new anymore. Like 7th Sea, where you have this sort of, I think it's like 7 like wounds. It's called the Death Spiral, and it's interesting, but it's gimmicky. So I would love to find or hear about a different way of having damage inflicted on a character or a PC. More elegant. Certainly, hit points become burdensome in games like D&D, where your hit points go up.
That's what I was just going to read that Max's comment on that. He says, "I hate when characters and monsters become big bags of hit points." Yeah.
Yeah. So
Agreed.
That's another reason why I like Mithras. Your hit points don't go up. Again, it's like if you're me, or if you're Brock Lesnar, if you get shot in the face, we're both going down. It is what it is.
Yeah. That's one of the reasons that I do find the OSR stuff a lot, like, way more appealing than current D&D, is that you start with low hit points in a lot of these games, and you don't get very many more. Where it's like Lion and Dragon, you get a single hit die to roll. Whew. Sorry, we got some big lightning and thunder again. That like shook the building. That was pretty cool.
Oh, jeez.
So if the stream just cuts out, that's because the power went out.
Connor says Car Wars had hit points. I am aware that Car Wars is a thing that's been around for a long time. It was before my time. I don't know much about it.
I like Traveler and Cypher's Way of Damage. I have not checked out Traveler yet.
I've not checked out Traveler. Connor, you have to direct us to some resources here. Which edition to get?
I know the answer to that. Never past 2nd edition.
I know he's mentioned it before, and I didn't recall offhand. Cipher system is interesting. If I remember correctly, my interaction with Cipher system is entirely from Numenera, and if I remember correctly, you have like 3 different. God, what is it? It's like 3 different pools or attributes, like speed, might, intellect, or might, mental capacity or something, and you both use your hit points, your points in those pools, as like resources for doing abilities, and you can get them back. A bit gimmicky. I do like it within the genre, or within the setting of Numenera, because Numenera is supposed to be weird, far-flung, incomprehensible sci-fi. I do like it that way. I don't know if I would like it in a different genre. And I know they have the Cipher System book to do like Supers games and modern game, horror. Maybe that would work in a Supers game. Definitely interesting. It is interesting and unique, at least in my experience.
So just a question for Canucksarum. Do you make YouTube videos? Because you're saying a lot of interesting stuff and recommending some games. And if you do, we would love to subscribe to you. Have a look at the old game Core from BTRC for a great damage system.
Where
Steve says, that's a little bit farther up. It's above Steve's comment. Steve says, HP is a weird thing, right? It has to represent more than just taking damage. It has to be representative of being able to carry on from more than just damage. So Pundit made a video. I don't know if this is an old video or if it's a new one that he made, but recently I got a video in my feed by Pundit on hit points, and he was kind of talking about how hit points to him, not to him, he would probably say this is a definitive answer. Hit points represent risk. It's not necessarily how damaged you are,
like wounds or
but
something.
but it's like if you've got 1 hit point left, you know the level of risk associated with getting hit. I don't know, it didn't really totally sell me on the idea, but it was an interesting topic. But like I said, from my perspective, you can do a lot worse than hit points. and many games have.
Oh, that is true. That is true. I never heard of core.
Yeah, nightmares underneath. Okay, so we'll have
Never heard of that. Interesting.
I'm gonna have
check that out as well.
Have to go through this chat afterwards for all these recommendations. Okay. There's an old system called Aftermath that tracked damage by location, i.e. your hand had less HP than your leg, etc., and you'd have to blow through damage, and my God, it was the most complex thing ever. I was going to say, this sounds really complicated, and I want nothing to do with it.
So I'm not opposed to hit locations. I guess you can go crazy with it if you get down to left index finger.
I think that hit locations I don't want to have hit locations in calculating damage rolls or calculating where I hit on a given attack. I think you can handle that with critical hits and things like that. Like if you have some sort of massive success, have a table where you can roll to see what effect it is, and you have an effect. Maybe it's like you cut someone's artery in their leg or something like that, or right. You can do location damage that way, and you can have the effects be persistent. But in the moment, I don't want to be dealing with that shit.
Yeah, I find
it's like I imagine the Fallout thing where it freezes and you're getting like the percentages on things. I'm like, no.
Well, I'm going to keep that in mind because we'll all be experiencing hit locations soon.
Yeah.
Should I say what we're doing or?
Yeah, why not? Yeah, we can.
Okay.
Give a little tease for those who
little tease. So
for those who've tuned in.
Yes. I am going to be running a cyberpunk game on this channel. I think the first deal is going to be pre-recorded, and then we'll open up as a live stream later. But we'll see. So that game has hit locations.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think it will take very long to calculate in the moment when it matters. It's just you just roll another dice and die, and depending on what you get, it's damage to that deal. But I also agree, that was before I had encountered Mithras primarily. I was in RuneQuest. I was kind of opposed to hit point locations because it seemed to me like, okay, well, this is another step that's going to bog things down. But I will certainly be cognizant of that, and it makes sense as well for something like Cyberpunk, in a game where different types of cyberware is so important. So if you get a shit ton of damage to your right arm, well, you need a cyber arm now,
right? Or you damaged your very expensive cyber arm, that you were in debt for, and now you're really fucked.
Exactly.
Yeah. So we're gonna have this cyberpunk game going. We are gonna, like we said, first session is gonna be pre-recorded, just because we need to work out some technical things, and we don't want to be doing that live in case there are issues. But once we get that sorted out, we're likely going to be playing every other week live on this channel. So tune in
on this channel,
and you guys can see if we can actually role play or not.
You can give us either the Emperor's
thumbs up or thumbs down.
Send us to the Rancor pit or something.
Technically, you guys can already do that because there are some live plays on this channel from a decade ago. But
right.
But we'll be playing a new game on this, and we got both our other players in this chat right now. We got Steve Fillmore and Matt Gibbons, who are going to be playing with us. So we are pretty fucking pumped.
Pretty pumped.
Yeah,
you should be as well.
Yeah,
out there.
Yeah. So this will be our first game that we run, and then At some point, I will likely run a Lion and Dragon game on here, but I'm going to be running that with some friends just in real life for a while, really get a sense for it. And we'll have kind of a rotating cast of people in and out in different games and whatnot over time. But for now, we're starting small, starting with one game. And,
yep.
And that's it.
We have some appreciated RPG is dumb. Our execution has been stayed. We have some buy-in already from within the. I wasn't a part of.
Yeah, you were. You were in
games on this channel.
Yeah, you were. Right. End of Nightmares. We did that.
Oh, that's right. I didn't know that was.
And you were also in the Crypto Locker game, which unfortunately I guess I did delete because that doesn't exist anywhere in the channel.
Got it.
Crypto Locker for you guys was a Brigade Con game I ran in a kind of near future science fiction setting that I had been devising that I might revisit at some point. But the inspiration for it was like when the Crypto Locker viruses were going around and encrypting people's hard drive if they weren't given, it was ransomware. That was just starting to really hit things in the news years ago. And so I was thinking about like a world in which people have like brain augmentations and whatnot, and like having some terrorist group or someone basically infecting your cybernetics and being like, okay, if you don't do what I want, I'm going to encrypt your higher brain function and your like your memory, your ability to do anything. You're going to be a vegetable. I'm basically going to lobotomize you unless you hit XYZ condition. So we ran kind of a corporate heist game based on that.
What the fun ass game, man.
Leave the shit alone. Oh. Jesus Christ. You're ruining my cable management.
Dog issues. Yeah, we're going to be...
Oh, my God. The lightning started again, and she fucking woke up.
Oh.
It's like the cables were all fine, and she somehow managed to, like, wrap herself into all of them and undo all of it. Oh, my God. What the fuck, dog? Sorry. Get out of there.
Anyway, while he's dealing with that... yeah, that's definitely the plan to be playing in different games. Hopefully, for those of you who are interested, getting some of the community involved. There's a lot of really cool people who are commenting here on YouTube, making good content, having hilarious Twitter posts as well. Bringing together the people who are actually roleplay focused, immersively minded, have the right attitude towards gaming, and find different things. RPG is dumb. I watched a couple episodes of your Rifts game on with the Legion of Myth guys. Really cool stuff. Setting is cool based on what I've understood from the game so far, and great pacing, great content there. Oh no, Justin Thor missed the alert. Well, just in time for right now. New power is rising. That is right. Dark of Maya, Sorcha the Feywine Witch. Well, that's right. That was my character, wasn't it? It's been so long. Yeah, that's right. Unfortunately, that's all right. Unfortunately, that game, for those of you who are involved within the Ring of Fire community, the real, I think, if I remember correctly, last episode of that saga, which was recorded, ended with a big reveal for my character, which
was not the real reveal.
Which was not the real reveal. There was another.
So within the Ring of Fire, there is a species known as the Grey, which is it's like a Grey, like an alien.
It's like a Gray.
Yeah, like an alien from the X-Files.
It's a doppelganger. It's basically what it is.
Yeah. And so he was a Grey masquerading as a Freyine, masquerading as a as a Bihungi.
And the true reveal, the gray reveal. Now, we were status 0 or status 1.
Yeah.
And the mechanics of the gray, he or it only had one alternative transformation.
And my players thought they were so smart that one of the other guys was also a gray, and nobody knew. So we didn't get to that reveal either.
We didn't get that reveal either. C'est la vie. Yeah. You know, is what it is. But great memories there. Yeah. And more such things we want to have on this channel. And
you're fine.
You know, RPG is dumb. You are right, and your chastisement of a lot of the commentariat. A lot of the commentariat is you know, they're armchair philosophizing, right? And putting, when you can and if you can, put your sort of money where your mouth is, or do your best to put your money. That's always better. It keeps you yourself more honest, and
there you are.
You know, it's just a more there she is.
Yeah, I was petting an invisible dog.
yeah. Good to remove the background there.
Yeah. Also have some separation so it doesn't look like I'm like touching you. Well, we are about at 2 hours. So, oh my God, you're wrapped around my fucking headphones now. This is awful. I've about hit the limit. With the dog has hit the limit.
Got it. I'm just going to ask this Canuck
sure.
As a question. An aside for the watchers of the podcast, whatever happened to Sage Latora? He got canceled by his own
hair dye
hutch for some type of rapiness in a game. Anyone know? Been uncanceled yet? I'm not sure what that is.
Don't know who Sage Latora is. Huh. Nothing awkward going on down here. Exactly. It's definitely an invisible dog.
Yeah.
Oh my God, Anna, get the fuck out of there. Jesus Christ.
All right, well, that being the case, I think we'll
I got to drop off.
Wrap it up here. She's
about to unplug everything.
Everything.
Yeah.
Well,
so
one way or another, I guess the stream will be ending. But
yep.
Great talking to you all. Please like, subscribe if you can. And again, like we said, if you have any video content, any written products, please let us know. We'll attach it to the description. I'll put you out there, and be good for us to. We're looking for interesting quality material as well. So.
Yep.
That being said.
No.
Right, dude, shall we?
No apologies. No compromises.
No compromises. That's
Have
right.
a good night.
We're out.
Bye-bye.
Okay.
Yeah, I do want to stop the stream.